Good morning. I invite you all to join me in some meditation and reflection. So you gently close your eyes and take this moment to relax, bringing your attention to the breath, breathing in this present moment, and breathing out all that has led you here today. Breathing in love and letting go as you breathe out love. So I invite you to take these words as your own. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. And knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community, Concordia. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to glorify God, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God as love. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by God. For it is written, "Let all that you do be done in love." Breathe deep the fragrance of that love, a love that heals the broken heart and will renew the flesh of one who has awakened to the presence. Love is Spirit's alchemy. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as embodying truth, inspiring expansion, radiating joy. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. I am inspiring ever-increasing awareness of oneness with God, which is the expression and experience of love. I am applying the healing power of truth through encouragement, support, and compassion in my life. I am awakening self-realization through embodiment of mystical teachings, diversity consciousness, and sacred service. I am developing a dynamic and creative cultural arts program with music, dance, and visual expression in my life. I am enhancing family-oriented ministries through activities for all generations with thriving community participation. And I am manifesting greater expression of divine abundance consciousness. So as I now accept the highest expression of my new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will glorify God and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is.
The presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, and I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings, and I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Welcome. Welcome, Concordia Center for Spiritual Living. Namaste. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. Our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. And our vision is a world that works for everyone. We welcome diversity at Concordia, as we know diversity increases our understanding of one another and increased understanding creates stronger communities and a more compassionate world. I extend a special welcome to all first-time visitors. I invite you to join us downstairs where we will share our hearts and will enjoy getting to know you. So welcome. And at our information center, we have a special gift for you so that you can learn a little bit more about who we are. Today is a very special day. We have invited Reverend Alan Vukas to visit us today. He is candidating to be our next evolutionary spiritual leader. Our beloved Reverend Ian Taylor is retiring at the end of this year after having served our community beautifully for over 11 years. He has held this vision for us, has kept our focus on this vision throughout this process, as you well know. He has kept us on the path of knowing our spiritual magnificence. So I am grateful, so very grateful for Reverend Ian and Reverend Alan Vukas. We have been through the co-creative process. We have developed a new minister covenant. We have visioned, prayed, listened, and meditated. We have received applicants and chosen our candidate. And today we welcome you, Reverend Alan and Kevin. Blessed be. With open minds and loving hearts, a true Concordia welcome. We embody truth, inspire expansion, and radiate joy. So I extend a warm welcome to each and all here today. Thank you for showing up to be here and to be who you are. We welcome you, your authentic self.
So our next song is called The Dance of Life. It's written by Jenny Escobar, and it's written in two parts, so it's going to be up on the screen. And so we'll sing both parts, but then they fit equally together. So after a while, just kind of pick whatever part calls you and repeat that, and we'll have both parts. And so if you want to stand, it's kind of a nice little dancing type tune.
Come gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. Oh, oh, oh. Come gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. I live my life in the open, I live my life out loud. I live my life for freedom, I live my life to be wild. Come gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. Oh, oh, oh. Come gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. I live my life in the open, I live my life out loud. I live my life for freedom, I live my life to be wild. Come gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. Oh, oh, oh. Gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. I live my life in the open, I live my life out loud. I live my life for freedom, I live my life to be wild. Together, come being around, join in the dance of life. Oh, oh, come gather together, come being around, join in the dance of life. Join in the dance of life. Join in the dance of life.
Next, we're going to have our spiritual reading read by Terry.
Good morning, I'm Terry Murphy and I'll be doing today's reading. Today's reading is all about spirit and the acceptance of one's thinking as it returns to the right mind. Healing will begin when all realizes that there is no value in sickness, and that sickness is of the mind only and not of the body. As one learns to accept the insignificance of the body, the illusion will be gone, and there will be no purpose for sickness. If ever anyone should experience conflict or unrest, they can pause and be still and know that they are spirit. If they cannot find love, joy, peace, or freedom within themselves, they can request of spirit its presence and its guidance. If they could feel at peace, but recognize that this peace can be threatened, they can pause once again and be still and know that they are spirit. They may ask for guidance and delivery from this world of illusion, and they will know that spirit will always be here. Initially, their thinking and their fear are the same, and yet they seem to be different. So as they continue to persist in their stillness, they will know that they are spirit. And in their stillness, they will become aware, first softly, but then more so and more so, until they hear Spirit's voice strong and clear. It's then that they realize the quiet knowing of what to do, what to say, where to go, and what to be. And that message will have come from Spirit. And as they follow Spirit, that which they become and that which they have and that which they are will echo the voice of Spirit's message throughout the entire world. And it will always remind them to first be still and know that they are spirit. And they will feel the presence of Spirit within. They will feel the peace and the freedom. They will feel the joy and above all, the gift of absolute love. And as they are still, they will always know that they are spirit. Blessings upon all, that is all. And so it is.
This next song is about self-empowerment and self-love, and the message is about how important it is to rise above the negative voices about ourselves that we may hear from others, but also those voices within tell us negative things. And it's from the movie The Greatest Showman. It's called This Is Me. It's one of Alan's favorites, and we've been practicing it, so let's give it a try. Everyone stand up. We'll have the PowerPoints for our new song.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me, oh, 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 oh. Another round of bullets hits my skin. Fire away, 'cause today I want to let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades, reaching for the sun. We are warriors, that's what we've become. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. And the sharpest words want to cut me down. Gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Oh, 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 this is me. And I know that I deserve your love. There's nothing I'm not worthy of. Oh, oh, when the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me whenever the words want to cut me down. Send up the blood to drown it out. Oh, 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 this is me.
This is amazing. I am so filled with joy today to introduce you to Reverend Alan Bucas. For those of you who have not met him, you will be glad that you came today. Just a little history. He was the founding senior minister for Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living in Tampa, Florida for 5+ years. Most recently, he has served as the staff minister at New Dawn CSL in Aurora, Colorado. He is authentic, he is warm, and he is joyful. So without further ado, let's give Reverend Alan a warm welcome, a Concordia welcome.
Oh, woo! I didn't bring any tissue up here, did I? Oh, yes. Well, good morning, Concordia. I have to, on behalf of Kevin, my partner, and I, we are so blessed and honored to be joining with you here today. It has been a long time that we've been waiting to say hello. A long time. And let me start with that, a little story as to what I mean by that. But even before that, I want to say a special thank you to the Ministerial Selection Committee who read my application and thought good enough of it, or well enough of it, to say to the Leadership Council, you may want to check this guy out. And then the Leadership Council, thank you for extending the invitation for me to come and to spend this time with you, but a special thank you to each and every one of you. Because you, the process that you have done, the work that you have done in consciousness, in order to be open to whatever Spirit brings, we are connected in that way, because for me, it's wherever Spirit leads. And so I know that we are in relationship already together. So, they told me I have some time. I have a certain time I'm going to operate from today, but I was on the. Oh, thank you, Mary. I've already learned being here that Mary's the one to call on. Mary's the one to call on. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. And how could I forget Christine, Ed, and Paul with the music this morning? This is me. Thank you so much for doing that. Did y'all like that? I've been watching you guys online. I've been doing a little cyber stalking. And Well, when you do services live, people might be watching, right? And I've been watching and just waiting to come and join in here. I sing along at home. So let me go ahead, and the message for today is, I'm going to have to work this out. Yeah. So the message for today is called Living an Outrageous Life. Living an outrageous life. Now, when Pam had mentioned it and named it the first time, I knew she had a little difficulty with that word. So we'll talk about what I mean by outrageous. Outrageous. And she's not the only one that I've heard respond to that word. But as you get to know me, I make up words. I give new definitions to words. So I'll explain what I mean by living an outrageous life, where it actually comes from a conversation that I had with a prayer partner of mine a number of years ago. And this was quite a while back. And during that phone conversation, my friend shared with me something which at first I thought was a backhanded compliment. What she said to me was, Alan, my wish for you is that you live as outrageously as you are outrageous. Now, like I said, when I first heard that, I thought it might have been a backhanded compliment, right? Would you might think that? As you get to know me, outrageous is a good word. Outrageous is a good word. But in the context of that conversation, I knew that was a blessing from her. That was an affirmation. Her prayer for me was that I live in integrity, that I live from the inside out, and that I live a life with no holds barred, that I live my authentic self, my authentic life, and all that life is calling me to be and to do and to have. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is I want each one of us to live that outrageous life. You know, I want you to stop for a moment and to think of when you were just a child. I live in Colorado, and my brother and I have two little nephews. Liam just turned 3 a couple weeks ago, and then Emmett Carter is, I don't even think, 4? Oh, is he that old? Oh, time. I would say 3 months, but yeah, he's 9 months old. But when you were just a child and someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be? So what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm just going to say slide. So do you remember what some of those things were? What were some of those things? Do we have any nurses in the room? And I don't mean nurses now, and maybe you are, but when you were a child and someone asked you, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Any nurses in the room? Was that an answer? Raise your hand. I can't see. Yes. How about any doctors in the room? Not that we need one now, but yes. Teachers, astronauts, writers, musicians. Let me hear. What did you say when someone said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? A movie star. Are there any presidents? Any future presidents? I was going to say we could use you now, but when you ask a child something like, so what do you want to be when you grow up? They are speaking from that outrageous self. They are speaking from what inspires them. Now, the interesting thing is that children do not have, for the most part, any clue as to all of the steps that it is going to take to realize that dream, to realize that vocation or calling. Right? But that doesn't stop them. That doesn't stop them from dreaming. It didn't stop us from having that dream and to say, I want to be this. My father was a commercial fisherman. He was a shrimper, like Bubba Gump. And I spent a number of summers on the back deck of his shrimp boat in the Gulf. I'm from Florida originally. Well, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago originally. And I hear that you're familiar, or you already know someone from Trinidad, Reverend Ian. But my father, we grew up in Florida, and there was one thing I knew that I didn't want to be after working on the back deck of a shrimp boat, was to do what my dad's work was. Actually, I was called into ministry as a child growing up. And that is, I have the scrapbooks, even from the first grade, and showing, what do you want to be? I want to be a pastor. And that has been a lifelong calling for me. But there's something, though, that happens to children as they get older. They begin to, get reasonable. They get rational. They begin to think in terms of what is practical and realistic. I mean, Don Miguel Ruiz, in his book, The Four Agreements, he refers to this as domestication. And I have a slide here for going the other direction. Ah, yes. They call this domestication, and it's something that happened to all of us. We became domesticated. And what happened is that we began to measure our dreams and what's possible for us by what is reasonable, by what is practical, by maybe even what might make us the most money. Maybe someone should it on us. You should be this. You should do that. This is what you need to do with your life. And so as kids begin to grow up, as they begin to be domesticated, eventually the sky is no longer the limit of their dreams. What happens to children, what has happened to all of us, we grew up. We grew up. And one of the dangers in this growing up, if we're not careful, is that we find ourselves living our life, or maybe it's not so much living. It could be existing. We're living our life in a place where we're no longer dreaming, but we're living from our conditions and letting circumstances tell us what is possible for us. If you were at the how many were at the workshop yesterday? Oh, great to see. So that helps me. I should have asked that at the beginning, because then I will know who knows what and what stories to tell or stay away from. What I want to talk about, and we talked about in the workshop, some practical ways in order for us to begin again to use the sky as our limit. No, not to have limits on our dreams. We're talking today about living this outrageous life. And that is a life where there are no limits. Now, let me talk about this word outrageous. I had to find a definition, a working definition that we can all agree on. That's important with words. Because if I say a word and you don't know what I mean, then we could be talking about two different things. So a definition that that I found that really works for me is outrageous means greatly exceeding bounds of reason or moderation. Greatly exceeding bounds of reason or moderation. You notice that reason is still in there somewhere, but outrageous or outrageousness exceeds those. So we're not leaving out the reason. We're including it somewhere. Last week, I was at Foothill Center for Spiritual Living in Evergreen, Colorado, which is where I live currently. And they are in the same process that you are. They are currently looking for a minister. And so a friend of ours, Reverend Kathy Mastriani, I think I said that right. I hope you're not watching, Kathy. For me to mess up her name if I did. Well, we were there to support her, and there was someone, I shared with them after the service, I said, I'm going to be doing the same thing that Reverend Kathy did today, but I'm going to be doing it in Rhode Island. And so she goes, that's wonderful. What's the title of your talk? I don't know what it is with religious scientists, and they have to know the title. They have to know the title, because without hearing the message, you don't know the context. It can mean anything. And so I said, living an outrageous life. And I saw I saw this squirm, and without any hesitation at all, she began to offer me some new titles for this because she was having some issues with the word outrageous. She was having some issues with the word outrageous. So thinking about that, outrageous, we're not talking about being crazy. We're not talking about being without reason. You know, when we talk about, if you were to ask yourself the question, what would love do? And I'm sure that is a question that not only gets asked here, it's demonstrated here. This is on an aside. As you get to know me, I cry very easily at the drop of a hat or the drop of a tissue. That's why I have a box up here. But your community has been so welcoming to Kevin and I. One of the things that Reverend Ian, I spoke to Reverend Ian before I even submitted my application to the Ministerial Selection Committee. I asked Reverend Ian, well, one, where are you going? What's going on? But then I wanted to find out, and this was really what I wanted to hear, what was your greatest accomplishment? What are you most proud of here as you are retiring from ministry? And he said, it's a place where everyone has a home. And that is palpable here. I feel your heart. It is palpable. But when we talk about what would love do we stop and say, what's reasonable? How can we show love reasonably? Or let's be moderate in that. We don't want to get too crazy with that. Does that make any sense? Of course we don't do that. But when talking about life, I want us to embody that what is inside of you is seeking to emerge and wants to be known, and let it out, just as you would let love out. Just as you would let joy out. Just as you would express peace into the world. My desire for all of us is that if they were to look in the dictionary for any of those words, love, peace, joy, they would see our pictures there. And also with the word outrageous. Living a life that is beyond the limits of the sky. You know, Dr. Holmes writes in my favorite book of his, This Thing Called You. This Thing Called You. I love the textbook. But what really grabbed my heart when I first found this teaching of Science of Mind was This Thing Called You. For 6 months, it was my Bible. I carried it with me everywhere. Whenever I felt whenever I felt contracted, whenever I felt cut off, or just not knowing what was mine to do, I would open that book up, and wherever he said, wherever I was at, and I saw the italics, it begins in chapter 5, if you want to know. Anything after chapter 5, each chapter, there are meditations, but there are words right there on the page for you to say. He tells you to say, and that's what I did. I said it until I felt it. And I did that for 6 months. And my life was transformed through these words. But I'm going to use a quote from Dr. Holmes in order to give some context because I'm talking about this outrageous life inside of us. Well, I have an authority. that can backs it up. He says, you are to believe with utmost simplicity and with complete faith that there is a pattern of your being or a real spirit in you, which is as eternal as God, as indestructible as reality, and as changeless as truth. This pattern, this outrageous self, this pattern is seeking to manifest through you. And back of it is all the will and purpose of the universe, all of the irresistible laws of being. And thank God, finally it will win. With us or without us, it's going to emerge. Thank God. This is what I mean by the outrageous self. That part of us that is seeking to emerge through us, to be presenced in the world. This is the outrageous self. And as religious scientists, those of us here in Science of Mind, this is where we should begin. This is where we need to begin any venture in our life. Anything that is to start from this place of where we know that we are one with that presence. That presence is actually the essence of who we are. And to own it and to say, this is me. This is me. The next slide. Oh, thank you. That's good. I was in my early 20s, and I was going through a rough patch. I've had a number of rough patches. Is it just me, or it just seems that things don't always go my way? Things do not always go my way. As try as I might and try to manipulate and control, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But this was in my 20s. My mother passed when 4 days before my 20th birthday, and I was her primary caregiver. And this was in my early 20s. After she had passed, the family unit sort of fell apart, and I was a mama's boy. And my mother was gone. My father was grieving in his own way. My brother he found his own way. We just scattered. And so it took me a little time to recover from the pain and the heartache and the grieving. Not only was my mother gone, my family was gone. The house that my mother's house that I was raised in was gone. It was all gone. And so at this point in my life, this was about 2 years after she had passed, I was technically homeless. I was sleeping on the couch in the friend of the family's living room. So, I wasn't homeless, but it wasn't my home. I was living in someone's living room. Do you know most people don't actually live in their living rooms? Did you know that? The living room is maybe for company. But so I was helping her fulfill the purpose of her living room. And I was trying to get back on my feet, and I had no idea of where else to go. And someone told me about a business idea. They told me this idea that where I could make some money. Now, my father, I mentioned, was a shrimper. He was self-employed my entire childhood. Up till I was an adult, my father was self-employed. My role model was an entrepreneur, and that is what I am. I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I am an entrepreneur. And this idea that someone told me about is a business idea. It was a direct sales company. You buy a product at wholesale, you sell it at retail, and you get to keep the difference. They call that a profit. And so the name of the product was Skinny Dip. I didn't say skinny dipping. It was Skinny Dip, the name of the product. And the company still exists. The company still exists, and I'm not sure if they're still making the product, but what Skinny Dip was a thigh cream. Oh, I hear some, that's laughter of recognition, or, remember, this was in the 80s. Remember in the 80s, there was thigh cream. And how this worked is you rub the lotion into your skin. That's a movie reference. Yeah, and if you know that movie reference, then we probably have some of the same movies that we like. But you rub the lotion wherever there is cellulite or fats that you want to release, and theoretically it would cause the fat to mobilize and go somewhere. Go somewhere. Now, I know it's crazy, but there was science behind it. And I knew, though, here was the point, though. Someone told me about this product, and here I am sleeping on someone's couch, and they tell me this idea that, oh, here's a way that you can make some money. And I'm homeless. But I knew that if I was going to succeed at this, I had to jump on the wagon. I had to catch the wave, so to speak. It was very popular at that time. Jenny Craig was even selling a similar product in the stores. It was on the news. All of this. I mean, this was actually outrageous. Here I was living in someone's living room, working a job, a minimum wage job in the 80s. Or this was early 90s. Early 90s, right at the turn. Early 90s at minimum wage, not a lot, as is minimum wage now, right? I'm driving a two-tone car, gray and rust, that a friend had lent me $500 in order to get this little rust bucket so that I can get around and trying to get back on my feet. And I could have listened to what people were telling me. People were telling me, Alan, you need to grow up. You need to get realistic here. What are you thinking? Instead of you focusing on starting a business and making some money, what you need to do is you need to maybe go get another job. You need to save your money and get an apartment of your own. You need to stop this foolishness. Stop thinking all of these outrageous thoughts. I mean, they're selling it in the stores. What makes you think you're going to make any money at it? I could have settled for being realistic and the practical and the common sense and give up the idea. This was before I had discovered science of mind. And where I was at in my life was I could not take one more area of my life where I did not feel at least some sense of power. And so this idea was offered to me, and I grabbed onto it because I knew that if I didn't, I would always wonder, what if? What might have happened? Here's the truth. In business, no one makes any money until money exchanges hands. Right? Until product moves, no money's made. You can have a whole garage full of product, and unless someone knows about it, then you're going to be stuck with product. So I began to do marketing to get the word out. I began to do whatever I was called to do, whatever I was inspired to do. And I didn't know what I was doing. This was before Al Gore invented the internet. How do you get the word out? Facebook didn't exist. Twitter was, that's a mess. But how was I going to do this? Well, I did whatever I was inspired to do. So I began to call all of the, I was calling all of the radio stations, AM stations, like talk shows, talk radio. I was using the white pages. Anyone remember? I was using, and the yellow page. I was doing all of this. I was using before the internet. And I was also faxing all of the news stations, or the newsrooms for all of the stations in the Tampa Bay area. I was faxing them information, and I'm reaching out to people and saying, hey, do you want to invite me on your show? Do you want to invite me on your talk show on the radio, or whatever the case may be? And because of the efforts I made, I eventually ended up on a local morning talk show. It was one of the anchors for the Channel 13 News in Tampa, and she was trying to be Oprah. She was trying to be Oprah. News at night and talk show during the day. So she had me as a guest. I'm on her stage, and I'm like, yes, this is great. I'm taking some action. Things are beginning to move. The word's getting out. And as I begin to talk about my product on the air, one of the top plastic surgeons is sitting in the front row, ready to poo-poo on my product. He begins talking to me, and in that moment, I'm like, oh, this isn't going well. He's saying, oh, this doesn't work. And here, well, my toll-free number is running on the screen. But in 30 seconds, I spoke to him directly, and he was asking me for samples. Yes! Cha-ching! 3 days later, I was invited for 90 minutes on the biggest morning show, Q-Zoo type thing, it was in Tampa. They were syndicated in 9 states. And the entire 90 minutes, I'm talking about skinny dip. And I had a whole stunt planned. Now, I was just making stuff up, or at least I was inspired. I was inspired. That's what I said. I brought in a massage therapist, and you know these morning show programs, they have usually a stunt guy, somebody who'll do all the, he'll do all the crazy things, and they make fun and everything. So we had a massage therapist. We brought him in. We took some measurements, and he was a big boy, and we rubbed him down in skinny dip. We wrapped him up, and the entire time, he's jumping up and down on a little trampoline over in the corner. And we took measurements before and after, and it was amazing. And people are calling in, and this was the good, calling in and placing orders. Oh, it was great. Now, when it was all said and done, I did end up making a tidy little sum. But even more importantly than that is the experience I gained. And I'm going to share with you 3 points that I learned, because whenever I hear, when I heard that, and why I'm sharing this story, when I heard my friend talk about living outrageously, it was this story, this experience that I was reminded of. And this comes to mind many times. So the first thing I want to share with you, if you're going to live an outrageous life, is that you've got to decide. You have to make a decision. I mean, the simple act of making a decision sets the universe in motion. Do you know why it sets the universe in motion? Because it sets you in motion. When you make a decision, then you are free from any other option, and you have the power then. The power of other options is then restored to you, and you have the power then to move forward. Waiting or wanting to go on a vacation, there's no power in that. Wanting to turn one way or the other at an intersection, there's no power and go. We're all going to be honking. We're going to be honking behind you. Decide. Make a decision already. But here's the question. So is there anything, though, that you have put off making a decision about? Or something that you're waiting? If you were in the workshop yesterday, you got some of this. You got some practical, and this is practical today. So those of you who weren't, I believe it's recorded, the workshop, you can check it out, and it supports this. But we have to make a decision. And most of us, all of us, are one decision away. One decision away of living a life by design versus default. The second thing that I learned from my experience is you've got to do what is yours to do today. I mean, I could do a whole talk on this, and I'm not going to. But not today, because that's not mine to do today. But when you make a decision, in the moment that you make a decision, there's ideas that begin to emerge, that you are inspired then to take action. And your power is in what moment? It's in the now. The time is now. It is now, in the present moment. This is the only time that you can take action. You can't take action yesterday because yesterday's gone. And you can't take action tomorrow because it's not here yet. You cannot drink enough water today to quench your thirst tomorrow. You can't take in enough breaths to help you out with the elliptical machine tomorrow. That's if you've decided to go to the gym. But your power is in this moment. And so in order to live an outrageous life, what is required of us is to take whatever action is called for us to take today, so that tomorrow we are free and available to take the action that is available and we're called to do tomorrow. Do you get that? Now, many people get stuck at this point. Many people make decisions and then they get stuck because they begin to think of all the different things that need to happen in order for them to get to their good. And they get either overwhelmed or exhausted or tired or whatever the case may be. They're trying to jump bars on the monkey bars. The monkey bars at the playground. You've got to go, to get from one end to the next, you have to let go of this one to reach for that one. You can't get to the end without going from where you're at. Ernest Holmes calls this the law of unfoldment. You start where you're at, and you take the action that you're called to do today. And as you take that step, guess what? Another one presents itself. But a lot of people are waiting to get to that one without doing this one. It doesn't work that way. When I lived in Florida, I used to always talk about driving from Tampa to Los Angeles. Not because I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, but it's a good metaphor. So I cannot get from Florida, or let's say Rhode Island. You can't get to Los Angeles from Rhode Island without going through the states and everything that you need to do. And I see a red light, so I'm going to go ahead and... You can't leapfrog. That is the point. So after you make the decision, you do what is yours to do. There's one final point. You have to release the results or the outcome to God. You have to surrender the results. You have no control over it. You have no control. The idea of control is a delusion. It's delusional. I had no control over how many inches the guy jumping up on the trampoline would lose. I had no control over who would act, and this was the most important part to me, who would call in with their credit card. I had no control over that. But all I can do was do what's I'm called to do. And as they teach in the Bhagavad Gita and Hinduism, there is the non-attachment, and Buddhism as well. Not being attached to the results. So what would your life look like if you made the decision to live how Spirit sees you? You know, there's a quote that goes that the greater danger for most of us is not that we aim too high and miss it. That's not the problem for most people. But instead that our aim is too low and we hit it. Here's what I know to be true. Divine love is flowing and pouring through each one of us. We are the embodiment. We are avatars. We are incarnations of that love here on earth. But if we're not allowing that to express, if we're not letting it out and letting it move us to embrace what we're called to be and to do and to have, all of us suffer for that. What are you waiting for? I need you to make a decision to be outrageous. All of us are waiting for you to show up, to inspire us, to maybe that you can be our role model, like Jesus was. Like all of the great teachers were. We are all teachers. As long as we take the sky off our limits. What I'd like to do is to anchor this in prayer. If you would like to, for me to say a word of prayer for you, and to do a treatment, to take this home to that place where we know that God is. So let us join together in consciousness here. What I've experienced this weekend so far is outrageousness. And what I know right here and now is that in this field of outrageousness, actually, there is this one power and this one presence, this one love that is God. And God is showing up here today by and through and as each one of us. There's no separation and no division. And because that is true, because there is truly only one heartbeat, the heartbeat of God, or we could say Concordia, this where many hearts beat as one. In this field of love, intelligence, in which we are an expression and waves on that ocean, I know that life, that real life, that spirit, that divine pattern that is the essence of who we are. It is right here and right now. And the truth in the mind of God is that there is nothing standing in our way. Only we have stood in our way up till now. We may have thought that we were limited, or that there was something to be afraid of, or we needed something. But what I declare and know right now is that that is not the truth. What is operating now and in and through and as each one of us is that divine mind, and it is perfect, whole, and complete. And it has the power to make decisions. It has the power to do what it is called to do. And it is not attached. And so I accept that as the truth, and not the truth as much as, because it is the truth, I accept it as the experience for each one here, each one watching, each one listening. Right here and now, there is nothing that can stand in the way of our good, because good is all that there is. And it is our experience now. And uprooted from our consciousness is any fear, any hesitation, any doubts, because it is not in alignment with who we are. We are outrageous. Are you outrageous? If you are, say yes to that. Yes. There is an outrageousness that is expressed here this morning by means of each one of us. I know this to be true, and I am grateful for this truth. And so as we close here this part of our service, I know that this outrageousness, it carries us, and it continues to expand and move us in our own personal lives to live that outrageous life. I know this to be true. I release it, and so it is. Peace and love, everyone. Namaste. Take this off.
How can I serve today, sweet Spirit? How can I serve today, oh Lord? Speak in ways I may understand. Where you lead me, I will follow. Where you lead me, I will go.
Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is.
Yes.
Now how can I share today, sweet Spirit? How can I share today, oh Lord? Speak in ways
I didn't
I
tell
may
any story about
understand.
it.
Where you lead me, I
tell it
will
really
follow. Where you lead me, I will go. Who needs my love today, sweet Spirit? Who needs my love today, oh Lord? Speak in ways that I may understand.
Where
Where you lead me, I will follow. Where you lead me, I will go. Yeah, who needs my love today, sweet Spirit? Who needs my love today, oh Lord? Speak in ways that I may understand. Where you lead me, I will follow. Where you lead me, I will go. Where you lead me, I will follow. Where you lead me, I will go.
And our next song is the Concordia theme song that actually I wrote for the Concordia about 10 years ago, about the community and how everybody works together and lifts everyone else up in the community. It's called Heavens on Earth. And then once this song is over, we're going to sing the peace song. So we'll leave the aisles and form a circle around the perimeter of the church for the peace song.
Heaven is when I feel connected, and heaven is when my thoughts cause me no pain, and heaven is when none of my worries own me. Oh no, heaven's on earth when I'm living in love. Heaven is being part of community, standing in our own truth and side by side. And heaven is in letting go of the judgments. Oh yes, oh heaven's on earth when I'm living in love. Open when my eyes are really open. I'm thankful for all the wonders I see, and humbled, oh how much I am humbled to be receiving the gifts given to me. Is being part of community. Oh yeah, standing in our own truth and side by side. And heaven is in letting go of the judgments. Oh yeah, heaven's on earth. You're all a gift to me. Heaven's on earth, creating harmony. On earth when we're living in love. Let's sing it one more time. Heaven's on earth, and life keeps getting better. Heaven's on earth, we put our hearts together. Heaven's on earth when we're living in love. We're living in love. Now we're living in love. Yeah, we're living in love. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, family are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, yes, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Oh yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins
With me. And in this moment, I know that peace does exist. Heaven is right here, not only in our hearts, but in this beautiful community. And as we go our separate ways, I know that this heaven, that this outrageousness, that this peace and all good carries us until we come together again. And so it is. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us online. Thank you to our online community. I hope that you have felt the warmth in our hearts and the love in our beingness, and I hope that you have tapped into the outrageousness and the magnificence that you are. So I ask that you join us each week, whether online or whether here in person. We are glad that you are here, and so it is.